Over the past 15 years, dating apps have revolutionized how millions of people find love, and the industry has been making record profits year over year. However, recently, these apps have been struggling to retain customers and grow their users, and the existing users are spending significantly less time on the platform than they did a few years ago. People are simply becoming less interested in using dating apps due to the negative stigma around them being used as a place for hookups, the lack of competition in the industry leading to extremely expensive subscriptions to unlock basic features, the rise of catfishing, the overwhelming amount of stories of dating app encounters going horribly wrong, and the overall feeling that dating apps just aren't giving people what they want anymore. So today, let's go over how the dating app industry got to where it is today, why it's starting to lose traction, whether or not it's been a net benefit to society, and how the entire idea behind a profit-driven company that is supposed to find matches, rendering the app useless, is inherently a conflict of interest, and it almost makes it bound to fail from the start. Alright, so the origins of online dating goes back a lot farther than you'd probably think. In 1965, Operation Match was the very first computer-based dating service. Users would fill out a 75-question survey on paper about themselves and what they were looking for. Then they would mail this questionnaire for about $3. It would then get processed through an early computer, and they would receive mail back, which had a list of 5 potential matches' telephone numbers. This, at the time, was not something that was widely used, but it did reportedly find 100,000 matches, and it planted the seeds for what would become a multi-billion-dollar industry in about 50 years. Now, let's fast forward to the 1990s. The dot-com boom was hitting strong. The internet was starting to become a massive part of millions of people's everyday lives. As chat rooms and social media platforms were developed, they were instantly used for dating. I mean, when there's a place where you connect with other people, it's just human nature that there's going to be romantic relationships that spawn out of that. So it was only a matter of time before companies started taking advantage of this to sell a product that was perfectly designed for this. In fact, it was instant. Online dating companies were popping up everywhere, such as Match.com, Kiss.com, Christian Mingle, Plenty of Fish, OkCupid, just to name a few. And while at first these sites were looked down upon, this stigma very quickly vanished as they became more and more widely adopted, to the point where in 2006, there was 25 million monthly dating site users. And that's also not including the millions more people, I'm sure, that were dating using platforms like MySpace, Facebook, or Twitter. There was clearly a massive demand for a simplified way of finding a partner, but these websites were mainly able to be used on a desktop computer. So once we saw the rise of smartphones in the late 2000s, we finally saw our first mobile dating apps with Grindr and Zeus. These apps were very successful and laid the groundwork for Tinder, which was released in 2012. And when Tinder launched, the dating app industry exploded. Tinder made the already simplified online dating even more simple. You just pulled out your phone no matter where you were, looked at a few pictures of people, read a short bio, and swiped left or you swiped right. Tinder quickly became the most popular dating app in the game, and still holds this spot today. Dating apps are something that I think was inevitable. Humans crave relationships, and going out into the world and approaching people you don't know is a very daunting idea. And there's certainly arguments to be made that the rise of social media has led us to become a lot more socially awkward and lonely. And dating apps, at face value at least, is a way to use this technology to actually create connections with actual human beings that will develop into something into the real world, rather than just building out a parasocial relationship with your favorite YouTuber, Dakota Talks. However, that's not the whole story of dating apps. Again, since the launch of Tinder, the industry has been growing exponentially, both in users and in profitability. But recently, things have been changing. The last few years have seen the first decrease in the yearly downloads of the major dating apps. Most notably, Tinder falling from 80 million downloads in 2020 to 60 million downloads in 2024. And while the COVID epidemic that made everyone trapped in their homes and very lonely definitely contributed to the high numbers in 2020, the 2024 numbers are still 10 million lower than they were in 2019 pre-COVID. Data also shows that people spend significantly less time on these platforms now than they used to, almost half of what they did in 2018. Now, don't get me wrong, these companies are still very profitable and still have tens of millions of active users on their site, but these numbers are not insignificant. So what is causing this recent disinterest in this industry that has seen unprecedented growth for the past 20 years consistently? Well, it's worth noting that throughout the entire history of dating apps, there has been many criticisms and safety issues that have arisen. Even going as far back as Match.com, which was founded in 1995, there were many reports and lawsuits where people would meet on dating apps and then proceed to be sexually assaulted or even murdered. One case that stood out to me in my research for this video was the case of Jason Lawrence. This man was described by British police as a, quote, sexual predator, and he used Match.com to talk to many different women, and he ended up raping 5 of them. Thankfully, this man has been jailed for life. He is absolutely a disgusting monster. But while this is absolutely gross, I don't want to make the conclusion that the dating app caused this in any way. This man was obviously a vile, evil human being, and I do think that whether or not he had Match.com to use as a tool to get close to people, he would have ended up hurting women regardless. However, that doesn't mean that Match.com is entirely innocent here either, because according to The Guardian's reporting at the time of the incident, quote, one of the women was told that administrators could not do anything because he had not sent abusive messages through the site. And this is absolutely fucking vile to me. If a user is reported, especially more than once to administrators, they should not be on the fucking platform anymore. And this kind of situation is far from an isolated incident on dating apps. There are countless examples of bad people taking advantage of these apps to kill people, assault people, traffic people, and kidnap people. However, again, I don't want to insinuate that the dating apps themselves are causing all of this violence and crime. Now, don't get me wrong though, these dating apps should be doing everything in their power to stop this kind of situation from taking place. It's very important that they have quick, intuitive, and effective reporting systems and do everything in their power to stop situations like this from taking place. Maybe by doing background checks on people before they sign up, or doing better identity verification. And I'm not trying to defend the billion-trillion-dollar corporations here. I'm sure they could be doing a way better job at controlling this stuff. And I do think that these apps need better regulation that requires them to do these things. But look, these types of crimes do happen. Regardless if a relationship starts at a bar or it starts on Bumble, there's going to be crimes like this that take place. Now, I'm not saying that's something that we should accept. We need to do everything to fight against it and stop this from happening. But I'm just saying that I struggle to entirely blame the apps for this kind of violence taking place. Whether or not you're dating on an app like this, you should be skeptical and cautious when you're meeting somebody that you don't know. And while I think that the vast reporting and confirmation bias of situations like this taking place does scare some people away from the apps, I don't think it's the main reason for the recent disinterest. However, it definitely is worth mentioning and does contribute some. Another criticism of dating apps is that it makes dating all about looks and hooking up rather than long-lasting love that is based on personality or morals. And this is something that is widely debated. And there is definitely no denying that people who are conventionally attractive have a significant advantage on dating apps, and most people will open these apps on their phone and purely make their decision on whether or not they're going to swipe right or left based on their physical attraction to the person on their screen. However, on the other hand, there are a lot of people who use these apps who are trying to seek genuine relationships that are not just based on looks and not just for hooking up. And it's not impossible to find a genuine relationship on these apps. And I think you could also argue here again that it's not exclusive to dating apps that people are going to be shallow and superficial. That's going to happen regardless of where you meet somebody. But personally, I do think that the nature of dating apps allows you to be very picky, and you end up prioritizing people who you find the most attractive, even if you might have swiped left on somebody who you could have ended up falling in love with because, I don't know, they weren't over 6 feet. Whereas if you had met that person in the real world, you might have hit it off and fallen in love. And when I was researching for this video, trying to figure out why people were becoming disinterested, this seemed to be a really big contributing factor to why people were not feeling them anymore. A lot of users complain that they feel like people on the apps are fake and artificial. And one viral TikTok video that a lot of people resonated with the message of explains how the lack of competition in the dating app industry right now leads to the current biggest app feeling very saturated and fake, while there's no new place like Bumble used to be where it felt like that was the designated spot for more serious relationships.
Here's my theory about why dating apps have never been worse than they are now. Because one of the main ways these apps make make money is by selling your data. And to have as much saleable data as possible and just to drive business growth, they want to sign up as many people as they can. But that's a double-edged sword. You can't drive growth and retain your sterling commitment to set people up with life partners at the same time. The more people join an app, the more people just want to use it for hookups, the worse the quality of people on the app gets, the more diluted the original mission gets. And at least with Tinder and Bumble, there was another app to jump to if you really wanted to find a relationship. But ever since Hinge, no other app has come on the market that's a genuine competitor. Smaller ones like The League or Coffee Meets Bagel or Locks Club have all come up, but they're too niche to really crack the mainstream as the next big thing. So if you're wondering why your Hinge feed is absolute trash, it's because it too has hit the inflection point where it's so oversaturated that it's sacrificed quality for user growth.
This also ties in with the rise of catfishing, which is all too prevalent on these platforms. In fact, I actually downloaded the biggest 3 dating apps for this video and have used them for the past couple weeks. I downloaded Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge, okay? And in my 2 weeks using these platforms, I ran into at least a few catfishes that I am aware of. I matched with this one girl on Tinder named Corinna, and before I even had an opportunity to start a conversation with this person, I stumbled across the same person again in my Tinder feed. Now, they had the same face, they had the same tattoos, and they had the same first name, but their last name was different, and the photos of the person were different. So obviously I was very disturbed at this and did not want to pursue a relationship with this person because I was pretty sure they were not real. So I continued to swipe and I stumbled across, I kid you not, the same person again the next day. Yet again, with different pictures, the same first name, but a different last name. I don't know what the fuck was going on there, but eventually the profile that I had matched with ended up just disappearing, so I'm assuming it got deleted because it was like a spam account. I'm not really sure. Honestly, I tried to report this account when I saw this, and there was like no option to report him as a catfish or as a like scam account. There was the reporting system on Tinder, from what I saw by just using it for a little bit, was not very custom and did not give me the opportunity to properly report this incident. But I found this whole situation very disturbing because from the looks of the initial profile, it seemed like a real person. They had interests and music taste, and they had pictures of themselves and prompts that they had answered. So I had no reason to think that this was a catfish or a scam until I just happened to stumble across more of them, or whatever the hell that was. But there was also plenty of accounts that I stumbled across, most predominantly on Tinder, where it's like a supermodel and they're 18, but they only have one photo and they're not photo verified and they don't have a bio. It's like, okay, this is a fake account. This is very clearly not a real human being. But I think that the overwhelming majority of catfishes that you would stumble across are probably not that noticeable. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was a lot of them that I swiped right or I swiped left on that ended up being not who they were presenting they were. This is something that is very rampant on these platforms and a serious issue that they probably should be dealing with better. And I think this is something that is genuinely scaring people away from these platforms. Because even if you find someone who seems like they want a serious, genuine relationship with you and they share your values, you might still be skeptical that they're even who they say they are. And again, even if you're confident on that front, you might have all these horror stories about dating apps that are going on in the back of your head, making you still even more skeptical. I think if you combine all of those criticisms that we just talked about, this is definitely leading to some of the disinterest as of lately. However, in my opinion, one of the most impactful factors is the insane greed of these companies. You see, ever since the launch of dating apps, they've had a subscription model. You know, you could pay monthly to get access to certain things or features or perks. And over the years, they've added more and more features and more tiers and locked more and more things behind a paywall. To the point where today it feels like you have to spend money on these apps in order to even attempt at seeing results. This subscription model, as well as serving ads in the feed, is how these businesses make their money. In my experience using these apps for just a couple weeks, I found this subscription model extremely annoying. Because if you use the free version of Tinder, for example, first of all, you have a limited number of swipes you can do every day, which already is annoying. Oh, and if you have a couple deal breakers, that's too bad. You're just gonna have to sort through every single person in the limited amount of people you have, because most of the actual adjustment features, other than age and distance, are locked behind a paywall. But they make sure to say, hey, look at all these things you could adjust if you upgraded to Tinder Premium. And another thing that I found really annoying on these platforms was when I was on Hinge, and this is true for all of the dating apps that I used, but this is just happened to me first on Hinge. About a day after I started using Hinge with the free version, I got a like on my profile, and I was like, oh, cool, who's this? I clicked on the Likes You tab, and I could see there was one profile that had liked me, but it was blurred out. And when I clicked see who liked you, it immediately popped up a subscription tab where I could pay $15 a week to see who likes you and all these other bogus fucking subscription perks and shit. They quite literally dangle the idea of a relationship that people so desperately crave. Just, hey, look at this, someone likes you. Too bad you're a broke bitch, so you don't know who it is. That's just must suck for you being a broke loser. That's even though, because there's one person that likes you in the whole world, and you wish you could see who they are. Unfortunately, you can't because you're a broke little bitch. Okay, so sucks to suck. That's basically what they're doing to you. They're saying, hey, someone liked you. Isn't that cool? All right, well, you can go do your thing, or you can pay $15 a fucking week. $15 a week is crazy, and that's the fucking first tier subscription. That's insane. Similarly to that, these apps also incentivize you to buy perks or upgrades so that you can get better results out of your experience. They do this in the form of things like roses or super likes or boosts or spotlights. On Tinder, you can buy one boost for $8, which makes you one of the top profiles in your area for 30 minutes. And this feature exists on every dating app that I use. But $8 for 30 minutes of not even being the top profile, but being one of the top profiles is just insane. And again, they make it feel like this is something that you have to do if you even want a chance. And it's also worth noting that even if you were paying for a subscription, you don't get a bunch of these to use all the time. At least on Tinder, you only get one free boost a month. For that overpriced fucking subscription, you get one boost a month. That is ridiculous. Oh, and if those boosts still aren't doing the trick, you can even get a super boost, which I kid you not, gives you an 100x boost apparently. I don't even know how the hell that would work in like a small town. I don't think there's enough of a local audience in the 10 miles around me that I could get a 100x boost. Okay, I just don't think that's something that's possible for me. A similar system exists on these platforms with roses and super likes, like I mentioned before. They basically sell these things so you can pay some money to get a rose or a super like, and you can go to someone, say, hey, I like this person a lot, they're my type, they're the right age, I like their personality that they're displaying in their bio or their prompt or whatever, so I'm gonna send them a super like or a rose to really, it says that it will increase your chances of this like actually becoming a relationship. But here's the thing, I don't know if that's really true and how that works, because I feel like if you're sending something like that to somebody, it comes off as a little bit desperate, okay, and maybe even a little bit creepy, because they know when they get a super like or they get a rose, they know that you're paying money to send that to them. And that might feel slightly concerning to them, I understandably so. But if that's the case, which I feel like that's how some people would definitely feel, then it kind of goes against the whole idea of the rose or the super like. This whole entire pay-to-win model is something that a lot of people who have used dating apps have a massive issue with. And I think it's something that is seriously contributing to this recent disinterest. And this is something that is making me really not like these dating apps as a new user to them. I mean, it's very frustrating and clearly manipulative. These apps take advantage of lonely people by capitalizing on their yearning for a relationship that is loving by going, hey, you want to find love? Oh, do you really? How about you pay up? How about you pay up? This is the fucking love mafia. Now, for this video, I tried out all 3 of these dating apps that I downloaded for this video. I tried out all 3 of their first tier subscriptions, and I will tell you that it was not worth the money. On Hinge, like I said earlier, I did get 1 like, and I was able to see that person, and I ended up matching with them, but the conversation did not go anywhere, and ever since then, I have not gotten another like on Hinge. I also tried using some of the boosts that Hinge gives you with the subscription, and even after I used all of those at the times that I thought would be the most optimal, I did not see anything out of it. So honestly, big waste of money there. And again, I did the same thing on the other 2 apps, and over the course of 2 weeks, I had 3 matches overall. The one on Hinge, which didn't go anywhere, the one on Tinder, which was a catfish scam, and one on Bumble, which is still developing as I'm filming this video and was probably the most real connection that I made this entire time. Actually, it was, because it was the only connection that has actually continued into a conversation. So we'll see where that one goes. The only real connection that I made on these apps is something that I would have made regardless of if I had the subscription or not, because it was an organic match. I didn't have to use a boost. I didn't have to check my likes by paying $15 a month. It just was an organic match where we both liked each other's profile. And if I continue to use these apps after I finish making this video, I am definitely not going to be paying for them ever again. They're incredibly overpriced, and while they do lock basic features behind the paywall, you can still find matches without them. You just have to resist the persistent marketing that they shove down your fucking throat. Now, the reason that they have to milk their users so aggressively like this is because dating app users are inherently temporary. The entire idea of a dating app is to find the user's love, which, if they succeed in their mission, makes the dating app useless. So then you delete it and you don't use it anymore. So if they want to continue to make increasingly higher and higher profits, then they need to either squeeze all they can out of all of their existing users while they still are there, or they are going to be incentivized to make it harder to get matches so that you stay there longer, so that they can sell you more stuff and give you more ads so that they make more money. And they also are incentivized to facilitate hookups rather than long-lasting relationships, because after a hookup, they'll come right back to the app. I think that online dating, again, is something that was inevitable with the innovation in technology that we've seen. And these apps have genuinely done some great things. They've facilitated millions of different people finding love. And in an increasingly divided and isolated world, we need and crave connection. And sometimes to fix these problems, we have to meet people where they're at. These apps help people connect from their phones, which they're already on all the time, and this leads to them going out and talking to people and putting their phone down. These apps are far from all bad, and I strongly doubt that they're going to go bankrupt and disappear anytime soon. However, the recent disinterest, again, is not small. These are significant changes that could lead to a genuine disruption in the dating app industry. The horror stories that you can't escape hearing, the overall stigma, and the constant manipulation to get you to buy these overpriced subscription and perks all accumulate in a feeling that these apps are just not working for people like they should be. People are getting bored with the current option and don't feel satisfied with the results, or even openly or angry with the way that these companies are operating. I think that there's a few ways that this could go. This could be opening up the industry to a new contender, which could come in and genuinely disrupt things and provide a new place for the serious relationship people and make things fresh and new again. Similarly to how Bumble disrupted the industry about 10 years ago. I think this could also lead to companies starting to meet the needs of their customers. Maybe if we make these companies squirm a little bit because they're not gonna hit another record profit quarter, then they might actually start lowering prices of subscriptions or making things more safe and easy to use and actually addressing what people are criticizing them for so that they can continue to grow users. This could also lead to an increase in relationships being started outside in the actual real world, the old-fashioned way. I think all of these are very possible situations. In my opinion, dating apps have been a net neutral on the world. They have their vast issues, for sure, but they also do provide something that people genuinely want. It's clear now, more than ever though, that change needs to happen. And all I can say is I hope whatever this change is leads to a better experience, and hopefully one that's little bit less manipulative. All right, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, be sure to subscribe and to check out this video next because YouTube thinks you're gonna like it. So let's see if they're right. All right, I'll see you guys next time.